1. Let me tell you about this 1969 Ford F100 I found on Craigslist for $7,000. I've got to be straight with you. This classic pickup definitely needs some serious love. The seller's being honest about its condition, listing it as fair, and I can see why. The steering's locked up, which is a pretty significant issue we can't ignore. But hey, the V8 engine still runs, and that's something. The truck comes in red, rocks an automatic transmission, and it's rear-wheel drive, a classic American setup. Now let's address the elephant in the room. The odometer's broken and has rolled over, so we're flying blind on the actual mileage here. But with a truck this age, that's pretty common. Look, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. This F100 is definitely a project truck. You're looking at a restoration candidate, or if you're into it, a solid parts donor. All the parts shown in the photos come with it, which is a nice bonus. The clean title is definitely a plus too. For $7,000, you're buying potential here. These old F100s have a great following, and when restored, they're absolute head-turners. If you've got the time, skills, and extra cash for a restoration project, this could be your chance to bring a piece of American automotive history back to life. Just make sure you're ready for the work ahead. This truck's gonna need some serious TLC. 2. I want to share with you this sweet 1980 GMC 1500 I spotted on Craigslist for $16,000. This isn't your average 30-year-old truck. We're looking at a seriously well-maintained 4x4 step-side that's got some real character. Let me tell you what makes this one special. First off, it's rocking a V8 engine paired with a manual transmission. That's a combo that'll put a smile on any truck lover's face. With 111,000 miles on the clock, it's actually got relatively low mileage for its age, and the seller's reporting it's in excellent condition. What really catches my eye is the fresh custom paint job they've done on it. And check this out. It's got a new bed liner and a fresh oak wood bed. That's the kind of detail that shows someone's really cared for this truck. The 4x4 setup makes it practical as well as cool. And that step-side body style? Man, they just don't make them like this anymore. The clean title is always reassuring, and the seller's even open to trades for a smaller truck or a side-by-side, with an asking price of $16,500 OBO. For a classic GMC in this condition, especially with the recent upgrades, that price point actually makes sense in today's market. This is one of those trucks that combines classic styling with real usability. It's not just a showpiece, it's a proper pickup that's been thoughtfully maintained and upgraded. What do you all think about this piece of American truck history? 3. Let me tell you about this interesting 1978 Chevy C10 Custom Deluxe Big 10 I found on Craigslist for $8,500. This is one of those rare one-family trucks with a story to tell, and I've got to be straight with you about both its charm and its current issues. First, the good stuff. This is a New Mexico truck, which means we're talking minimal rust, mostly just in the bed, which is huge for these old squares. It's got the legendary inline 256-cylinder engine, paired with a 4-speed manual, really a 3+ low setup, and the odometer shows just 51,000 miles. The interior is remarkably well preserved for its age, with just some expected dash cracks, and all the glass is good. Being a single-family truck means it hasn't been passed around and modified. It's beautifully unmolested, with all original components. Now, let's be real about the current situation. This truck won't start right now. It's been sitting for about a year and a half, and while it ran well when parked, it's currently having starting issues. The seller thinks it might be the fuel line or filter, which is pretty common for vehicles that have been sitting. The hood's got that classic C10 fold bend, almost expected on these, and the undercarriage and engine bay could use a good cleaning from sitting. For $8,500, you're getting a solid piece of Chevy truck history that needs some attention to get back on the road. The clean title, original condition, and low rust make it a really interesting project. It's not a turnkey truck, but it's got great bones and that increasingly rare original character that collectors love. 4. Let me tell you about this interesting 1973 Chevy K10 I found on Craigslist for $6,500. This is one of those project trucks that's already had a lot of the hard mechanical work done, but still needs some love to reach its full potential. Under the hood, You've got the classic 350 V8 that's reportedly running well, paired with a 350 turbo automatic transmission. The 4x4 setup with a Dana front end makes this a proper off-road capable machine. Now let's talk mileage. It's showing around 150,000 miles, but with a rolled over odometer, we're in that "who really knows" territory. Here's what makes this K10 interesting. The seller has already invested heavily in the mechanical side. We're talking new suspension all around, fresh brakes, rotors, calipers, worn wheel locks, master cylinder, bearings, seals, ball joints, tie rods, stabilizer bar, steering damper, and Bilstein shocks. They've even thrown in headers and a Flowmaster dual exhaust setup. The truck's sitting on new BF Goodrich tires and comes with a Class 5 hitch. Being honest here, the body needs work. The pictures show its condition, and it's definitely going to need some TLC in the bodywork and paint department. But hey, that's where you get to make it your own. The seller's including some extra parts like a rear bumper and new door hinges, plus they've got $4,000 in receipts for all the new parts already installed. 5. Let me tell you about this interesting 1977 Chevy K5 Blazer Cheyenne I spotted on Craigslist for $5,500. This is one of those classic SUVs that's got a lot going for it. And I'll be straight with you about what we're looking at here. Under the hood, you've got the trusty 250 CI inline 6 paired with a 4-speed manual transmission. That's a combo known for reliability and torque. The sellers recently put in some fresh parts, including a new carburetor, fuel pump, hoses, and battery, which is always good to hear. The 4x4 setup includes lockout hubs, giving you that true off-road capability these K5s are famous for. Now, about that odometer showing 34,000 miles. It's rolled over, so we're in that classic "who knows the real mileage" territory. But here's what's really important. The seller mentions it's got a solid floor pan, which is huge for these old Blazers, good tires, and a good exhaust system. It runs and drives well, which is exactly what you want to hear. At $5,500, you're getting a classic K5 Blazer that's mechanically sound and ready for the next step. The seller's straight up about it needing some work to take it to the next level. But that's part of the charm with these old rigs. The Cheyenne trim level means it was one of the nicer ones when it left the factory. 6. Let me tell you about this sweet 1972 Ford Ranchero 500 I found on Craigslist for $8,500. This is one of those unique car-truck hybrids that Ford absolutely nailed, and this particular example has some interesting upgrades worth talking about. Under the hood, you've got the reliable 302 V8 paired with an automatic transmission. The seller's done some recent mechanical work that's worth noting. We're talking new shocks, fresh brakes, new ball joints, a recent alignment, new battery, and a tune-up. That's the kind of maintenance you want to see on a classic like this. The exterior is rocking an older paint job in white, and it's sitting pretty on 15-inch American mags wrapped in Cooper radials. They've rhino-lined the bed, which is a practical touch for actually using this beauty. Inside, you'll find a nice interior with a bench seat and some custom embroidered Ranchero floor mats. That's a cool personal touch. Some nice creature comforts include power steering and working AC, which isn't always a given on these classics. The custom dual exhaust probably gives it a nice sound too. The odometer shows 39,784, but it's rolled over, so the actual mileage is anyone's guess. Now it does have a rebuilt title, so that's something to keep in mind. But the seller's including some valuable extras, 5 factory Ford assembly and repair manuals, an extra factory grille, and hubcaps. Being a 72, it's exempt from smog requirements, which is a nice bonus. 7. I've got to be completely honest with you about this 1979 GMC Sierra Grande I found on Craigslist for $7,500. Look, this is definitely a project truck, and I mean a serious project. Let's not sugarcoat it. We're looking at a short bed Sierra with a 350 V8 and manual transmission, which is a great combo when it's running. And that's our first major issue. This truck currently doesn't run at all. You'll need to arrange a tow just to get it home. The seller's marked it as salvage condition, which tells you exactly what we're dealing with here. Now there are some positives. It's a one-owner truck with a clean title, which is pretty rare for a vehicle this age. The 4x4 setup is desirable, and these short beds are getting harder to find. The brown paint, well, it's very 1979. But let's talk more real talk. The odometer's unreadable, and that 100,000 mile estimate is just a guess. The tires need air and likely complete replacement. We're basically looking at a blank canvas that needs everything. At $7,500 OBO, you're really buying potential here. These Sierras can be absolutely beautiful when restored, but you need to go into this with your eyes wide open. This is going to be a significant investment of both time and money beyond the asking price. 8. Let me tell you about this sweet 1973 Chevy El Camino I found on Craigslist for $10,000 firm. This is one of those classics that's had some serious love and attention over the past few years, and I'm excited to break down all the work that's been done. Let's start with the heart of this beauty. It's running a 350 V8 with an automatic transmission, both of which were pulled in 2017 for a major refresh. We're talking all new gaskets and seals, plus some serious performance upgrades including an Edelbrock 4-barrel carbon intake, new cam and lifters, timing chain, He-Eye ignition with fresh wires and plugs. The exhaust system's been upgraded with stainless headers, dual Flowmasters, and Chevelle tips. You know this thing must sound amazing. The exterior got some serious attention in 2018. They tackled the surface rust, fixed a small hole in the rear footwell, and gave it fresh paint. It's sitting pretty on 50th anniversary American wheels with new tires. The bed's been sealed and painted, and all the weather stripping has been replaced. New window and door rubber, new door seals, the works. Inside, you'll find new carpet, refreshed door panels, a new dash cover, and a new gauge set. The braking system was overhauled in 2019 with a new master cylinder, wheel cylinders, and flushed lines. Just this year, 2024, they installed a new radiator and battery. 9. Let me tell you about this interesting 1984 Chevy K20 I spotted on Craigslist for $9,700. This is one of those 3-4-ton workhorses that's got some serious recent upgrades worth talking about. The biggest selling point here is what's under the hood. We're looking at a freshly rebuilt 350 V8 with less than 2,000 miles on it since the rebuild. And it was done by S&J Engines in Spokane, which is a good name to have attached to the work. It's paired with the legendary Turbo 400 automatic transmission, which is known for being nearly bulletproof. The 4x4 setup makes this a proper go-anywhere truck. The seller's straight up about the odometer showing 131,336 miles, rolled over. But with that fresh engine rebuild, the chassis mileage becomes less of a concern. They've also done the brakes recently, which is always good to hear on a heavy-duty truck like this. Now let's be honest about the aesthetics. The seller mentions there are some minor cosmetic issues with the brown paint and body, but that's pretty normal for a working truck of this age. The important part is that it's described as mechanically solid with no mechanical issues at all. At $9,700 OBO, you're getting a lot of truck here, especially considering the fresh engine rebuild. These K20S are getting harder to find in good mechanical condition, and this one seems ready to work or play. The seller's even open to partial or full trades if you've got something interesting to offer. 10. Let me tell you about this 1955 Chevy 3200 project truck I found on Craigslist for $7,000. I've got to be straight with you. This is definitely a project, but it's got some really interesting potential for the right person. This is a 3-4-ton pickup with the original inline-6 engine, which can still be turned by hand, that's promising, and a 3-speed manual transmission on the column. It's got that gorgeous extended 7/6 inches bed, which makes it a bit more special than your standard 3200. Now let's be honest about the condition. The seller's listing it as fair, and that's pretty accurate. We're looking at minor to major surface rust in various areas, including the cab and other body parts. The bed's missing its wood, but hey, that's actually an opportunity to do a really nice custom wood bed installation. On the positive side, this truck's got all its original metal. We're talking cab, fenders, hood, bed frame, step panels, and tailgate. It's even got the desirable big rear window, and all the original glass is intact. The original Chevrolet emblems are still there. And it comes with some nice extras like new spark plugs, wires, lights, and radiator hoses. At $7,000, you're buying a piece of American truck history that needs a full restoration. These 55 Chevys are getting harder to find, especially with all original metal, and they're absolutely stunning when restored. Just remember, this isn't a weekend project. It's going to need significant time, effort, and additional investment to bring it back to its former glory. 11. Let me be completely honest with you about this 1983 Chevy C10 I found on Craigslist for $2,800. This is definitely a project truck in the truest sense of the word, and I mean a serious project. We're looking at a short bed C10, which is the desirable configuration, powered by the inline-6 engine paired with a manual transmission. The seller's up front about this being a project, and they're not kidding. This truck hasn't been on the road since 2014, which is a solid decade of sitting. Now, here's where it gets interesting. It comes with a ton of extra parts, including an extra engine and power window doors in the bed. The seller's right about one thing. These square body short beds are continually rising in value, which makes this a potentially worthwhile investment if you've got the skills and patience. At $2,800, you're basically buying a project foundation with a bunch of spare parts. You'll need a trailer to get it home, which tells you everything you need to know about its current running condition. This is definitely not a quick flip. It's going to need significant work to get back on the road. For someone with the right skills and vision, this could be an opportunity to build a sweet square body without breaking the bank on the initial purchase. But let's be real. You're going to be investing a lot more than the asking price to make this truck roadworthy again. 12. Let me tell you about this sweet 1973 Chevy C10 stepside I found on Craigslist for $15,000. This isn't your average C10. We're looking at a nicely modernized classic with some serious muscle under the hood. Let's start with the biggest upgrade. This truck's rocking a 6.0 LLS motor, which is a massive improvement over the original engine. We're talking modern reliability with serious power, and it's paired with a rebuilt transmission. The seller's even honest enough to mention it might have too much power. That's the kind of candid comment I love to hear. The exhaust system's been upgraded with headers, and it's sitting pretty low on 15-inch rally wheels with new tires. There's some interesting bodywork here. They've used an 81 front clip and doors, which gives it a unique look. Inside, you'll find a tilt column with a quick-release steering wheel, though the seat cover could use some attention. With 75,000 miles on the clock and a clean Nevada title, you're getting a truck that's been well cared for. The body and bed are described as being in very nice shape, which is crucial for these classics. They've recently added new taillights and a turn signal switch, showing attention to the details. 13. Let me tell you about this sweet 1965 GMC C10 stepside I found on Craigslist for $16,300. This is one of those rare finds that's been in the same family since new, and that kind of history is always special. Under the hood, you'll find the trusty 230 inline-6, which isn't going to win any drag races. But these engines are known for their reliability and torque. It's paired with a manual transmission, giving you that classic driving experience that's getting harder to find these days. One of the standout features is the new oak bed. There's just something about fresh wood in a stepside that really makes these old trucks pop. The seller's being refreshingly honest about the paint job, describing it as fair but not perfect, which is exactly the kind of straightforward information we appreciate. They've addressed the minimal floor rust, treating it to keep it solid, and this truck has been living the good life in a heated garage. That kind of storage is huge for preservation, especially for these older GMCs. With 137,000 miles on the clock and all fluids recently changed, it sounds like it's been well maintained. At $16,300, you're getting a piece of family history that's been cared for, but isn't so pristine that you'd be afraid to use it. Being a second-owner truck that stayed in the family since new means it probably hasn't been subjected to multiple different owners' improvements. 14. Let me tell you about this interesting 1982 Dodge D250 I found on Craigslist for $6,000. This is one of those classic Dodge pickups that's getting harder to find, especially with this particular configuration. Under the hood, you've got the reliable 318 V8, which is paired with a manual transmission. That's a combo that true truck guys love. The 4x4 setup makes this a proper workhorse, and at 140,000 miles, these engines are often just getting broken in when properly maintained. The truck's recently been treated to a fresh coat of desert tan satin paint, which gives it a modern, purposeful look. The seller mentions it needs very little TLC, which is pretty encouraging for a truck of this age, though it would be good to know exactly what those little things are. What makes this D250 particularly interesting is the manual transmission/4x4 combination. That's not something you see every day, especially in this condition. The clean title is another plus, suggesting this truck hasn't had any major issues in its past. At $6,000, you're looking at a classic Dodge pickup that's got both character and capability. These old Dodges are starting to gain more attention in the classic truck market, especially clean examples like this one appears to be. 15. Let me tell you about this modified 1975 Chevy C10 I found on Craigslist for $7,000. This isn't your average work truck. We're looking at a serious performance build with some impressive upgrades under the hood. Let's talk about that engine first because it's the star of the show. We're looking at a 350 block that's been bored .060 over and is pushing around 400 horsepower. They've modernized it with 1998 Vortec heads and set it up with a 9:1 compression ratio, which is a smart choice for daily drivability. The Edelbrock 4-barrel carb, electronic ignition, and fuel pump are all solid upgrades that help bring this classic into the modern era. The seller's done some practical upgrades too. There's a new radiator to keep all that power cool, a new fuel tank under the bed, and custom headers feeding into a thrush-welded muffler setup that probably sounds amazing. The wheels, tires, and engine all have less than 3,000 miles on them, so everything's still fresh. Inside, you'll find a newly upholstered seat and fresh carpet, which is always nice in these old trucks. The odometer shows 300,000 miles but has rolled over, though with all these upgrades, the chassis mileage is less relevant. At $7,000, you're getting a lot of performance for your money. This isn't a numbers-matching original, but rather a thoughtfully modified square body with serious power. The manual transmission makes it even more engaging to drive. 16. Let me tell you about this 1976 Ford F100 I found on Craigslist for $5,000. I've got to be straight with you. This is definitely a project truck that needs some love, but it's got some interesting potential. The current setup is an inline 6 paired with a T18 manual transmission. And let's be honest here, the seller's being upfront about the engine being tired. That's the kind of honesty we appreciate. It's a short bed 2WD configuration, which is a desirable setup for these old Fords, especially if you're thinking about that lowering kit that comes with it. Speaking of included parts, you're getting new floor pans with the purchase price, which tells us there's definitely some floor work needed. But hey, at least you won't have to source the replacement panels. The seller's also got a rebuilt 460 big block available for extra if you want to really wake this truck up. That could make for an interesting build. At 100,000 miles on the odometer and a clean title, you're looking at a project that could go in several directions. Keep it original with the inline 6, swap in that 460 for some serious power, or maybe even go a different route entirely. For $5,000 OBO, you're buying potential here. These 70s F100S are getting harder to find, especially short beds, but remember, this isn't a weekend project. You're looking at some serious work to get it where you want it to be. 17. Let me tell you about this wild 1973 Ford F250 I found on Craigslist for $14,500. This isn't your average work truck. We're looking at a unique build that combines show and go with serious utility. The heart of this beast is what really gets me excited. It's running a 390 that's been stroked out to 445 cubic inches, with only 12,000 miles on the build. That's paired with a C6 automatic transmission, which is known for handling serious power. The seller's got a great sense of humor, saying this flatbed identifies as a street rod, and honestly, with that powertrain, they're not wrong. What makes this truck special is its versatility. It's set up with both a gooseneck and bumper hitch, so it can handle serious hauling duties when needed. But with that black paint and what appears to be a well-executed build, it's just as happy cruising and turning heads at car shows. At 57,000 miles on the chassis and sporting a clean title, you're getting a truck that's been transformed into something truly unique. The flatbed setup gives it a distinctive look that sets it apart from your typical restored F250. At $14,500 OBO, you're looking at a truck that can work hard during the week and show off on the weekends. The combination of that stroked engine, reliable C6 transmission, and practical flatbed makes this a really interesting package. 18. Let me tell you about this seriously built 1984 Chevy K5 I found on Craigslist for $19,500. This isn't your average Blazer. We're looking at a long-term build, owned since 2003, with some serious heavy-duty upgrades. Under the hood, you've got a carbureted 350 that's been bored .060 over, with an EGR delete and a 4x4 cam, breathing through a full dual exhaust system. The transmission is a 700R4 automatic, which is a great choice for both off-road and highway driving. But where this K5 really shines is in the running gear. We're talking serious axles here. A Kingpin Dana 60 up front and a 14-bolt full floater in the rear, both running 4.10 gears. For those who know their off-road hardware, that's about as beefy as it gets. The transfer case is a 241C with a SYE slip yoke eliminator, and they've upgraded to HD drivelines to handle all that torque. The suspension's been modified with 3 4-ton leaf springs and a sway bar delete, which means this thing's built for serious off-road work. The interior's been Herculaned for durability, and it's got practical upgrades like LED lights and a winch-ready front grille guard. There's even a partially built spare tire carrier in the works. At $19,500, you're getting a K5 that's been thoughtfully built with top-tier components. This isn't a mall crawler. It's a seriously capable off-road machine with the hardware to back it up. 19. Let me tell you about this 1969 Chevy C10 short bed I found on Craigslist for $12,000. I've got to be straight with you. This is definitely a project truck that needs some attention, but it's got some interesting elements worth talking about. The seller's honest about the truck's condition, listing it as fair and admitting it's been sitting and needs work. However, there are some significant upgrades here. Most notably, it's running a 2002 Chevrolet Crate 350 engine. That's a solid foundation for a build, and it comes with a new wiring harness, which is a huge plus for anyone who's dealt with old truck electrical issues. Some performance-minded modifications include a B&M shift kit for the automatic transmission, and they've relocated the fuel cell from behind the bench seat to under the bed. That's actually a smart safety upgrade. The odometer shows 30,000 miles but has rolled over, so the actual mileage is anyone's guess. At $12,000 OBO, you're buying potential here. These 69 C10 short beds are highly desirable, and having a relatively modern crate engine is a big plus. However, you'll need to factor in some additional investment to get it back on the road, since it's been sitting. 20. Let me tell you about this interesting 1971 Ford Ranger F250 I found on Craigslist for $6,500. This is one of those time capsule situations. The truck's been parked since 1992, when the owner went off to college, and it's got an interesting story to tell. Under the hood, there's a rebuilt 390 cubic inch V8 that's been bored .030 over and updated with no-lead valve seats and valves. That's a smart modification for running modern fuel. The transmission is a 4-speed manual, and they've replaced some crucial components, including the clutch, pressure plate, throwout bearing, and flywheel. It's also got power steering and AC, which are nice features for a truck of this era. Now let's be real about the current situation. This truck's been sitting for over 30 years, and it's missing its drive shaft. The seller mentions the tires still hold air, which is something, I guess. But after sitting this long, you'd want to replace those anyway. With 79,620 miles showing on the odometer and an 8-foot bed, this could be a great project for someone looking to restore a classic Ford work truck. The fact that it had significant mechanical work done before being parked is promising, but you'll need to factor in the costs of getting it running after such a long slumber. At $6,500 OBO, You're buying a piece of Ford truck history that needs some love to get back on the road. The rebuilt engine and transmission work are valuable starting points, but remember, any vehicle that's sat this long will need thorough attention before it's roadworthy again.